So here's something really cool you can do in Final Cut Pro. You can of course bring graphics into Final Cut Pro, images of any kind, but you can also bring layered graphics. A layered graphic, a good example, is a Photoshop document, a PSD that has layers in it. And when you bring those into Final Cut you can actually access the layers. So instead of having to create all these different elements you can just put them all in a PSD and bring them in and use them that way. Now it has to be a RGB formatted PSD with 8 bits per channel and then it should work. You can use any app to create the PSD. So for instance a third-party app or like Pixelmator that can export as PSD with layers should work. I created this one in Photoshop. It's a pretty simple graphic here and I'm going to drag and drop the file into Final Cut. I'm just going to take the default stuff. Setting it to Apple ProRes 4444 gives me transparency, which is nice. And this is a large graphic. It's like 5,000 by 3,000 pixels, so it'll import as 4K. And I get a graphic there and it appears to be a normal graphic. However, since it is layered and everything is set correctly, if I go to Clip, there's Open Clip. I can select that and now I can actually see it's got 3 layers. There's a city layer, moon, and a background. So I can do things already with the layers, like for instance if I control click on one of these layers I can disable it or just V for it and you can see the background is gone. So I can do that with the moon as well. That could be really useful. You can of course animate these, which is what I'm going to do here. I'm actually going to animate this moon. So I've selected the moon layer here and I'm going to go to transform and I can now drop this layer down. I'm going to bring it down here so it's out of sight. And notice how it shows up a little bit underneath the city here. I'm actually going to transform the city as well. I'm going to move that down so it kind of is flush with the bottom. So now I've got the moon there. Now I'm going to animate it by setting a keyframe. So I'm going to go all the way to the beginning here, set a keyframe there, and then I'm going to move along to somewhere else. So let's move to like 15 seconds or so there. And I'm going to set another keyframe there and I'm going to drag the moon up. So now as I scrub back and forth I can see it goes from one keyframe to the other for that transform. So now I can play the video and you can see the moon will rise over the course of those 15 seconds above the city. So I get a nice little animation there using multiple layers in Final Cut. Now I don't just have to do animations. I could use it for all sorts of things. For instance I could just have different elements appear and disappear at different times or just play with the opacity of different layers, apply different blends and all sorts of things to them. So there are a lot of reasons you may want to have a layered graphic in Final Cut. You can have a very complex scene with things and even put video in there and not have to have all these different files or be exporting from a complex Photoshop document into different pieces to bring it in. You could just bring the entire thing in and then play around with the parts as if they are different channels. Once you've got that all set like you want, you use this little arrow here to exit out and you can see it's still a single item here. It's just one graphic, but now inside that graphic there's multiple layers in it and that transition there is still working.